Am I live? Hi, everyone. It's live. I'm like, let me put this over here. So, good evening. I'm actually doing an evening thing. I'm totally, you can tell I don't really care. So, hello. Hi. I'm not going to completely, I have not brushed my hair this morning. Sorry, you can see me do my beautiful routine. Um, anyway, hi. See, this is me, right? Like, I don't really care about necessarily how I look. I'm kind of doing this footage. So let's see if I can do this. See, I just don't really care about the whole thing. And, and maybe that means I won't get as many viewers or whatever, but there we go. That better? Okay. Yeah, I kind of, again, I do these on the fly, right? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, there we go. That looks better. Pardon me. I'm just getting all sorts of things. Anyway, hi. This is how I should have started, right? Okay. But you can see I'm a human being and I don't have to try and fake it to a bunch of people because this is who I am, right? Pardon me. I just actually was eating something and uh yeah. So I had a couple of videos recently uh taken down by Facebook. They deemed them to be violating their community, whatever. And they weren't my content. It was little clips that I had posted from another video. Pardon me. Another movie that I wanted to share with people. So one of them they would not post because it deemed to be outside of their community thing. But tonight I kind of off the cuff really wanted to say something because there's been a lot of crazy stuff and we have Elon Musk taking over Twitter. We have this Dylan Mulvaney girlhood thing and ultra makeup brand, whatever. We have censorship. We have all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm really concerned about the way, the direction of our society. I am liberal. I do not like Trump. I am not a Republican. So I always have to say that. I always have to preface everything that I say anymore um, by saying that. Because what I say, a lot of people go, you were there for a Republican or you were somehow right wing. I'm not, honestly. I went to Antioch College. Okay. Let me repeat that. I went to Antioch College and maybe that doesn't mean anything to people. Maybe that doesn't mean anything to people who went to Antioch. Like, who cares? Like, but, um, I'm a very thoughtful person. I had a friend at one point, she was my friend. And I had shared with her something I had heard from Gasp, Jordan Peterson. And we were kind of going back and forth a little bit. And she told me later, she's like, I stopped and I said, I respect your opinions. I know that you're intelligent and that you're very thoughtful about what you say. And again, I apologize. That's annoying, I know. And she's like, and so I went back and I actually looked at what you had shared and I get it now. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Now, later on, we had another issue that we kind of butted heads about. And she called me a racist and she called me a disinfo agent. And I'm like, what happened to the whole, you believed that that I was a very thoughtful person. So, you know, I will preface this that I don't really have much of an opinion about Elon Musk. I have read a biography about him. He's an interesting figure. I like Teslas. I think what he's done with the SpaceX thing is interesting. I don't really have much of an opinion beyond that. I have heard he stole this, he stole that, he's crazy, okay. That being said, okay, fine. Elon Musk is who he is. But there was something that he said, and I'm going to try and bring it up here. Let's see if I can find this. My internet has been out and my cell phone service has been out for several hours, which I'm annoyed with. Let's see. I'm trying to bring it up. I'm sorry. I've been actually going through various. Oh, okay. Okay, here it is. So, Elon Musk, this is a quote from Elon Musk. I'll read it. I wanted to reach out personally to share my motivation in acquiring Twitter. There has been much speculation about why I bought Twitter and what I think about advertising. Most of it has been wrong. The reason I acquired Twitter is because it is important to the future of civilization to have a common digital town square, where a wide range of beliefs can be debated in a healthy manner without resorting to violence. There is currently great danger that social media will splinter into far right and far left wing echo chambers that generate more hate and divide in our society. In the relentless pursuit of clicks, much of traditional media has fueled and catered to those polarized extremes, as they believe that is what brings in the money. But in doing so, the opportunity for dialogue is lost. That quote is exactly what I have been talking about. If you go back and see my other videos, that's exactly what I've been talking about. Elon Musk nailed it. I'm sorry. You can hate him all you want. But in that quote, he's completely right. Now, maybe he's lying. I don't care. The quote itself is correct. Okay? And it drives me nuts because he's right. The media has divided us. Now, I remember many, many moons ago, there was a sort of infamous event that happened, and Jon Stewart went on firing line. I think it was firing line. Or crosstalk. Jon Stewart firing, or was it Crossfire? Sorry. It was an infamous thing, and it was called Crossfire, and he was on it. Go look it up. You can go on YouTube and look it up. And he said some really important things in that he was saying you are hurting to the people involved, right? Tucker Carlson, I think Tucker Carlson was in it. Yeah, Tucker Carlson. This is in 2004. Okay, folks. And he basically, in a nutshell, he told them, he said, you are hurting America. You're hurting. And he was trying to plead, like, you've got to stop this. This is not providing healthy, constructive dialogue. Okay. But fast forward, the damage has already been done. And I blame the media. Yes, I do. I blame the media. I blame the algorithms that push us to this thing. And I know definitively that Trump was put into office to foment that division and he worked really, really well, hasn't it? We don't talk to our family anymore. We don't talk to our friends anymore. Okay? All because of politics. We don't even talk when even if we maintain those relationships, we say, I don't want to talk politics with you. I don't want to talk about these issues with you because we're just going to fight and we're never going to agree. And so, blah. And that's really sad too. I mean, I get it. I sometimes I'm like, okay, fine. You are my family member. You are my friend. uh, and I would rather you be my friend and my family member than to be an enemy that we're fighting about this or that. But it is really sad at the same time that we cannot talk about anything anymore. I sent something to a friend of mine, an article about, it was about some up to date research about vaccines. Okay. It was informative. I thought, here's some information. And immediately they go, why did you send this to me? On a very defensive, attitude. Like, why did you send this to me? Like, and I was trying to explain, I said, because this is really important information that I think people should have. Now, I know for a fact that we're so divided in our society that medical information, scientific information, when everybody was like, trust the science, we have scientific information and medical information that we are not allowed to share. We're not allowed to talk about it or share an article. We're not allowed to say, hey, there's this really interesting study about myocarditis in vaccines, da 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 da. We're not allowed to share the information. Either it gets banned and flagged by Facebook or whoever, or people don't want to look at it because they're like, they just suddenly go, you're an anti-vaxxer. And that's not true. But science, real science, is about having these conversations, right? It's not about, oh, but you're not a doctor. You're not a scientist. No, it's about having conversations, about questioning. It's about testing. It's about saying, the British Medical Journal got an article flagged by Facebook. Let that sing it. The British Medical Journal, which is a journal that has been around since 1840, had one of their articles, one of their studies flagged by this misinformation AI bot thing that is supposed that Facebook has, that's supposed to identify you know anti-COVID or misinformation crap, right? That's their solution. And this was brought up, like, and the British Medical Journal's like, why are you flagging our studies? Like, because it didn't go along with the status quo. The WHO says this, the CDC says this, but if someone else says something, they're categorized as being crazy, wacko, oh, out of the normative, like da 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 da. And I'm really disturbed. And I put out a plea to liberals and my fellow liberals and my fellow people on the left. You've got to sit down and think about what you're doing. I know you think and you mean well. I understand. I'm like, I want to be all for tolerance. I care. I don't like the MAGA people. Okay. Don't like the Trumpsters. Got it. Okay. But you really got to sit there and see what you all are doing, because we're not having important conversations about stuff. I can't even say the word because it will get flagged as being disinformation. It's crazy. It's utterly crazy anymore what we can or cannot say. You're not allowed to say certain things. And that's, if I take Elon Musk at face value, I don't know if I can. In this world, I really don't know. Maybe he is talking out both sides of his mouth. But just taking that quote of the thing that I just said, I believe in that quote. That quote, yes, that is what is happening, and it needs to change because we're already polarized. We're already We've all retreated to our own little social media worlds. I run a liberal prepping group. There was a liberal prepping and survival group, and I owned it. I created it. It was my group. And I was sharing some information about ivermectin. I was sharing some information about some other stuff, and specifically about the Joe Rogan stuff. And people attacked me. I had about 1,500 people on my group, and I lost about 100, 200 people. Not a big deal. But it's funny because they didn't number one, they didn't understand that it was my group. They want to sit there and they want to say, well, why are you saying this? This is completely inappropriate, da 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 da, right? And they were like trying to wrest control of this group that I created. And they're saying, why are you saying this? This is wrong. Who are you? Why are you saying this stuff? This isn't appropriate. This isn't survival stuff, which it was. How are we going to survive a pandemic? And when I brought up about Joe Rogan, like, oh my God, he's a racist. I mean, like the whole rabid little Chihuahua attacks began against Joe Rogan. And I said, if you guys want to leave, fine. I don't gatekeep in this group. I don't. And I never did. I said, you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to gatekeep you. You go start your own group if you don't like the way I'm running it. I never banned anybody. I never, and they were like, I bet I'm going to be banned. And I only actually had to ban or silence one person because they were just getting overly controlling. And I really only would do anything unless someone came to me. But that was only one other person. And I was very hands off. I said, you guys are grown-ups. We should be able to talk about stuff, I should be able to share it. We should be able to have healthy conversations. If you don't want to have a conversation about this, move on by all means. I was not going to be a gatekeeper. I was not going to be I'm in control and I'm going to tell you what you can say. And people are so terrified. I mean, we live in such a time of censorship. This video may be censored. This video may not be allowed to exist. And it's very troubling because it's like, no one's looking at it now. And the other really interesting thing is that Facebook algorithms, when I was going to repost something, they said, if you keep reposting this stuff, you're going to be, basically, they said I was going to have my content banned. That's what it basically boiled down to. And they probably have already done it. I have no idea. I mean, they say, oh, well, this is how you get more likes. This is how you get more visual, And I'm like, but I probably have already been flagged. I went to Antioch College. I probably have some flagged probably because of that, Although in this day and age, probably that would benefit me. I don't know. Anyway, but the other thing too is, so we'll see. It's interesting, and again, and I don't like, and the sad thing is about the left being all unhinged about this Elon Musk thing, right? So this, oh my God, this is the other thing. So when the whole Joe Rogan thing and the Spotify stuff happened, people are like, oh, he needs to get off of there. They need to get rid of him. And Spotify didn't do it. And but they were arguing. They said, well, these are private companies, and private companies can do whatever they want. They're private. They can, I'm like, and which is very troubling. And then today I saw a Robert Reich, who is, look him up. Was an economist who is in the Clinton White House. And he said it's a sad day when billionaire oligarchs own our media. So he was directing that at Elon Musk, right? Because Elon Musk is a billionaire. And who is owning our social media? Who is controlling who are these platforms in which we communicate? And it is really troubling. But it's ironic that he targets that for Elon Musk. I do wonder if he said anything similar to Mark Zuckerberg. and to some of these other things. So it's like, think about that. You like it when other people, and granted, I was there with you. I didn't want to hear Trump's tweets anymore. I couldn't stand it. And yet the media was a loudspeaker for that. They basically trumpeted every damn fucking thing he said because he was the president. He said, I was, please silence this man because he's annoying, right? Now, that was a very specific thing. Normally, scroll on by. Like, I don't care about what Trump tweeted today, you know? But it is really problematic when we have billionaires controlling our speech. So think on that, because your billionaire may like, you may this because they're doing what you believe in or your belief system or whatever. But tomorrow, tables could be flipped. And you will lose the right to say what you feel needs to be said. So be very careful about, speech is free. Free speech. That means you may not like what another person says, but you better protect their right to say it because tomorrow it will be your speech that is silenced. Trust me. It will happen. It always happens. So, segueing into the whole trans issue. Now, again, I'm liberal. I've always been liberal. I'll always be liberal. I'm not conservative. I'm not a Christian. I was raised Christian. I am not a Christian. I am pagan. I am, to put a label on it, whatever my eclectic religious views, spiritual views are. I am generally very much for tolerance and diversity. I like diversity. I think diversity is cool. I like to have more voices, more interesting people, rather than having a very thing. But that's another discussion in a lot of ways. Right now, I'm talking about the trans thing. And I got a lot of stuff to say about this that I'm not going to completely go into, but I just want to say one thing. There is a difference between the transition, like people earnestly and honestly wanting to transition their sex. I respect that. That's fine. If that's really sincerely who you are, more power, great, wonderful. I have an issue with the trans activist movement, okay? And this kind of has been building for a really long time because I have issues, and I won't go completely into this. I have issues with the puberty blockers in youth, as well as trans women playing in female sports, some of the bathroom stuff, just some of the overall, trans women are women, and the whole, the language, okay? I think it's gotten a little over the top, okay? And it's very troubling how, if you don't agree or speak the way someone else tells you to speak, that you're going to be labeled as anti-trans or a transphobe. And this goes all the way back to how I discovered about Jordan Peterson. Although it was about a different subject. It was about an interview that he had with BBC interviewer Kathy Newman. Interesting interview. But he is most famously known for the trans pronoun issue in Canada. And people just willfully misrepresent his argument. And I will repeat it. So his original argument, now I don't listen to him that much these days, so he could be shifting to a different whatever. I'm just talking about how I originally learned about him and what his views were. He never said that he was against people transitioning, okay? never said that. He just said he does not believe, he finds it troubling when the government is telling people how to speak. And that if you do not say certain words or speak in certain ways, that you can lose your job, that you can be jailed or fined or ostracized or shunned. He said that is troubling. My personal interaction with another human being is my personal interaction with another human being. And he said, always try to strive for respect and understanding and mutual whatever. But he does not want to be stuck in a position because it's prescribed by the hierarchical governmental structures of being forced to participate in someone's game. And I'm not saying that all trans people are playing a game. He's just saying that there could be a situation where someone is playing a game, could be trying to manipulate them, trying to, like, get this kind of weird contentious thing and use, saying you must do this, you must do that, right? 'Cause this happens. People are bad actors and they want to get people into trouble. And he says, this is really troubling, you know? And I will use an example. There is a person named Jessica Yanov. I can't remember what their original name is. I really reluctantly call this person a she because they're in Vancouver. You can look them up. This person was trans and had some very disturbing videos out there. And they were a bad actor. Okay. And they were going around and they were saying some very inappropriate things. There was some weird grooming behavior in terms of like getting on and wanting to talk to younger girls, okay, and talk about their periods and everything like that. And it was a very disturbing. I mean, this was on YouTube or one of the videos, or I can't remember what platform it really was. But they were saying, oh yeah, blah 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 blah, and my period, and oh, what does it feel like? And I mean, talking to like 12-year-old girls, right? And then there was another thing that he was doing where he was going around to salons in Vancouver, and this was before he'd fully transitioned, so he still had male genitalia, and demanding that these Asian waxing salons give him a bikini wax. Okay. And he would come in and they would realize he was male and they were like, we can't do this. We can't do this. Right. And he would say, well, you're violating my rights as a trans person. And he was harassing all of these salons and these women that were, I mean, they were Asian women a lot of the times. They were very vulnerable, and he would call them up and say, well, I'm going to get the government on you and I'm going to file a complaint and all this other kind of stuff, because they were like, no, we deal with women. I'm sorry. And he was coming in and he wanted them because it was a kink of his. And I'm sorry, but that's really what it was all about. It wasn't like he didn't have any really understanding. He's like, well, I need you to do this for me because I am a woman and you need to do this. And if you don't do this, you are in violation of this law. And he really caused a lot of problems. And he was just filing lawsuit after lawsuit. I mean, he was one of the bad actors. Okay. He was the person that would get you into a situation just so they could, like, cry wolf and go, oh, look what you're doing to me. Okay. And people don't believe that these people exist, but they do. And they always say, well, they're just bad apples. Well, yeah, they're out there. So what are you going to do about them? Because they're going to take advantage of the situation. And they're making your movement look bad. I had an argument about that very person with somebody who was non-binary. And there's like, well, but that's not a representation of what the trans movement. I said, well, then fine, but you need to address this issue. Because the laws that are being put into place right now are allowing people like them to take advantage of the situation. And that's very disturbing and very troubling. And it's like I've heard some stuff that is very troubling, and it may make me sound more like I'm a conservative, but I'll tell you, I am still very liberal. But I just, I believe in, yes, gender affirming care, that's fine, but you know, how far does it go? There's a lot of complicated issues about why kids in particular may be exploring their gender identity, and they're very, very vulnerable. They're very vulnerable. They're very easily influenced, and it's so. But the thing is that we are increasingly not allowed to talk about this stuff, else we are banned, shunned, accused of being anti-trans, and it's just very disturbing. So that's kind of what I had in a nutshell. It's 30 minutes. Just basically, I really do ask people to really think about free speech and to really sincerely be for that, and to examine how we can actually have important conversations without being triggered all the time, without being offended all the time, without um, deliberately misunderstanding each other and just wanting to attack and shut down the other person. We need to be able to have a safe space in which to make mistakes with our speech, to be able to say, hey, I don't really understand that. Help me. Instead of people like I had an experience, and it was during the Rodney King era. And I was at Antioch, and I was waiting in line at the lunch count. Like I was waiting in line. It was stalled, how lunch lines are, right? And I'm standing there, and there was a table, an empty table, and there was a Spike Lee book about a biography about Spike Lee sitting on the table. And this line was stalled, and I just picked it up to take a look at the back to see who wrote it, flip through it just to kind of see, like, oh, because he was a popular director at the time. And I thought, maybe I want to read this, where can I get this book, And as I'm flipping through it, because there wasn't anybody around, it wasn't like I was going to steal the book. Some Black students came up to me, and they said, that's not your property. You need to put that back down. How dare you pick that up? In so many words. It was really kind of alarming. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, I think they said something like, that's my book. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I just was looking at it. It looked really interesting. And they weren't open to engaging in conversation. They could have chosen to say, oh, have you seen any of his films? I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm really interested. I've heard about him. Is this a good book? Oh, yeah, it's a really good. I mean, they could have chosen to take that route, and they didn't. And it really, honestly, I know someone's like, well, that's your choice that you didn't choose to pursue it. But that just is an example that it's very off-putting. Instead of opening up the conversation, you're touching my property. You are a white person touching my property, and you don't understand. And how dare you? They're coming to the table assuming all this stuff about me, and I'm just trying to learn. And I heard repeatedly, like, it's not my job to teach you kind of attitude. And it's like, well, then I don't know how I'm going to learn. If we can't have a conversation about this, we're just divided. It just pushes us to the extremes. And we need to stop this. I understand someone who may have looked like me may have harmed you or harmed your ancestors, or maybe I am privileged or whatever. But the thing is that at some point we have to be able to talk and have good conversations, and that requires us to kind of not be so, I'm going to assume this about what you're going to say. We need to be able to have good conversations. And with that, I'm going to close it. Have a great Friday, and hopefully this will get posted. Bye.